Hello fam, welcome back to yet another interesting story. But before I proceed, please kindly hit the subscribe button, like, and share this video to your loved ones. Your support means the world to me. Now let's start. My name is Isabella, and I had always imagined being at Nathan's wedding, seeing him stand there in a crisp navy suit, Emily glowing beside him, the whole family cheering in that sunlit chapel in Vermont. I even pictured myself holding a beautifully wrapped box, a $50,000 gift inside that I had painstakingly prepared over weeks, thinking it would make his day unforgettable. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, and I swiped to answer, heart light with excitement. Nathan, how's the wedding planning going? I said, smiling at the sound of his voice, imagining the chaos of last-minute flowers and tux fittings. But Nathan laughed, a sound that was casual, yet somehow mischievous. Isabella, my wedding was done yesterday, he said, almost as if he were sharing the weather, strictly for family. I froze mid-step, my coffee mug halfway to my lips. Wait, what? I said, trying to mask the shock that had twisted into disbelief. You're telling me you just got married and didn't invite me? Yes, he said, chuckling like this was the most normal thing in the world. It was tiny, just family. You know how it is. I leaned against the counter, letting my mouth fall open for a beat too long before I could gather myself. My mind raced. The dress I had picked, the flowers, the note I had so carefully written to pair with a gift, $50, 000 saved and ready to astonish him. I had assumed this would be a grand event, a spectacle, a moment everyone would talk about for weeks. Now I realized that my plans had been upended, my presence deemed unnecessary in a ceremony so intimated had quietly slipped under my radar. I could hear the faint crackle of his laughter through the phone. Isabella, it really was just family, he repeated, and I caught the smugness in his tone, the satisfaction of holding a secret. I smiled, slowly, almost deliberately, feeling that peculiar mix of shock and a tiny spark of amusement. So, I said, keeping my tone light, all that effort, the gift totally wasted then? Nathan hesitated, maybe sensing the slight edge in my voice. Well, not exactly, he said cautiously. I mean, it was unexpected, but it was just family. I laughed softly, a sound that was more thoughtful than happy. Family, huh? That's interesting, considering I had a $50,000 gift all ready for you. My words weren't angry. They weren't bitter. They were deliberate, rolling out slowly, letting each syllable sink into the silence between us. He paused, and I could practically hear the wheels turning on the other end of the line. Is that true? He asked, voice lower now, almost pleading. I leaned on the counter, swirling the mug in my hand, watching the sunlight catch the tiny bubbles on the surface of my coffee. Very true, I said. I guess that means I'll be saving it then, since this wedding was strictly for family. A beat of silence. Then a small, anxious laugh. Isabella, he started. You wouldn't. I cut him off with a small chuckle of my own, letting the tension hang between us. I realized my $50,000 gift might go to waste, and that thought made me smirk. I could hear the catch in his breath, a nervous shuffle over the phone, the subtle shift of panic creeping in. He tried to argue, tried to assure me that he had thought of me in some way, some moment, some private acknowledgement, but it didn't land. My amusement was steady, the playful smirk lingering as I imagined him pacing in his apartment, realizing he had underestimated me, the power of a sibling who knows her worth. I took a slow sip of coffee and pictured my beautifully wrapped box, a symbol of generosity, now dangling in the air like a challenge. Nathan had always been confident, easygoing, sometimes a little too casual for his own good, but this was different. He had assumed, like many do, that family would bend to the rhythm of his plans. Yet here I was, a quiet storm behind a soft smile, recalibrating the balance. You know, I continued, letting the words tease and hang, you really shouldn't have done this without telling me. It's, well, let's just say, a bit bold. My tone was light, conversational, but the edge of amusement was there, a gentle warning wrapped in humor. Nathan's voice shifted, uncertain, a little breathless. Isabella, come on, it wasn't intentional. I didn't mean to. I let the sentence trail off. There was no rush to give in, no need to fill the silence. I could hear him weighing possibilities, realizing for the first time that perhaps this little game of secrecy had unexpected consequences. My smile widened slightly, the kind that told him I held all the cards, that the $50,000 gift wasn't just money. It was leverage, a quiet reminder of the bond and playful tension that only siblings can share. I leaned back in my chair, letting my mind wander for a second, imagining the scene. Nathan, realizing he might have underestimated his sister, the weight of what had been prepared in secret slowly settling in. And I allowed myself a small, victorious smirk. Because sometimes, the best moments aren't the ones we plan for. They're the ones where we hold our ground, smile quietly, and let life reveal the surprise. And in that moment, I knew my $50,000 gift was not just money. It was a reminder that I mattered. A reminder that sometimes family surprises you in ways you never expect. I could hear Nathan's unease over the line, a slight hitch in his confident tone that had never been there before. Isabella, seriously, I didn't expect, he began, but I cut him off with a teasing laugh that was sharper than intended, just enough to let him feel the weight of my words. I imagined him pacing his living room, hands running through his hair, maybe muttering under his breath as the realization of my $50,000 gift settled heavily on him. I mean, Nathan, I said, letting my voice dance between amusement and mock severity. You really didn't think I'd just let all that money sit there for a wedding I wasn't invited to? I paused, sipping my coffee deliberately, letting the silence stretch just long enough to feel delicious. Strictly for family, huh? Sounds like my gift was simply unneeded. There was a slight gulp on the other end of the line. Isabella, come on, you know it's not like that, he stammered. But I didn't let him off easy. I could hear the nervous cadence in his words, the subtle shift in his tone as he realized I wasn't joking, that this $50,000 wasn't just a token. It was proof of my thoughtfulness, my generosity, and now, in his eyes, my leverage. I smiled, though he couldn't see it. Unneeded? Or maybe you just forgot that some of us actually put effort into planning ahead. I let a pause hang, tilting my head slightly at the ceiling as though speaking to an invisible audience. I'd hate for such a significant gift to be wasted, Nathan. That would be tragic, wouldn't it? He cleared his throat, his voice tightening. Isabella, wait. You're not serious, are you? Oh, I'm very serious, I said softly, leaning back in my chair, the phone cradled between my shoulder and ear. But don't worry, I might consider making an exception if you prove that you're deserving. The emphasis on the last word was deliberate, teasing, and I could practically hear him swallow hard at the other end. You're impossible, he said, half laughing, half panicked. Impossible? I let the word hang in the air like a soft bell. Nathan, I think you're beginning to understand the position you've put yourself in, I said, carefully choosing each word, watching the sunlight move across the kitchen counter as I spoke. You've gone ahead and had a tiny, family-only wedding, and now your older sister is left holding a very, very generous gift. Do you see the predicament? I see it, he admitted, voice dropping low now, bordering on desperation. I really do. But Isabella, please, don't make me regret this. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the counter, letting the mug warm my hands. Regret? I echoed, tilting my head thoughtfully. Why would I make you regret anything just yet? Maybe I'll let you stew a little. You know, contemplate how $50,000 could have made your tiny ceremony sparkle a bit more. I'll do anything, he said suddenly, urgency threading his words. Anything you want, Isabella. I promise. Please don't keep it from me. I paused again, savoring the moment, the subtle shift in power that had quietly crept into the conversation. Anything you say? I asked, letting a soft laugh escape, the kind that lets someone know they're in your hands, but in a playful, teasing way. We'll see. Perhaps you need to convince me that I should part with it. You know, Demonstrate that you truly appreciate the effort I went through. Nathan's breathing became more rapid, each word coming out in a rush now. Okay, tell me what you want. I'll do it. Anything. Name it, I cut him off gently, letting the playful silence speak louder than any command. I have you exactly where I want, Nathan. Begging like a child, realizing that sometimes big gestures come with expectations. I paused, softening my tone just a fraction, enough for him to feel my amusement rather than anger. It's interesting, isn't it, how quickly the tables turn when a secret is revealed? Yes, he said quietly, almost whispering. Very interesting. I could feel the subtle tension in his words, the soft tremor of realization that for once, he wasn't in control. That thrill, knowing I held the reins of this little game, made me smirk behind the phone. And there it was, the first glimmer of power, the playful leverage of a sibling who knows how to hold a secret, and a brother who had underestimated just how seriously I take my gifts. He hesitated again, then added softly, I really am begging you, Isabella. You have to tell me what to do. Please. And I laughed, just a little, letting it carry across the line, filling the space between us with a sense of anticipation. I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. I could hear the desperation in Nathan's voice, the quickened rhythm of his breathing as he paced, probably across the hardwood floors of his apartment. Isabella, please. I'll do anything, he said again, but this time there was a sharper edge to it, a mixture of genuine panic and pleading. I smiled, letting the warmth of my coffee fade in my hands as I imagined him kneeling dramatically before a metaphorical throne, the throne being my patience and the gift he had underestimated. I leaned back, tilting my head toward the ceiling, and let a long pause stretch. Anything? I asked softly, letting each syllable drip slowly over the line, like molasses. Are we really talking anything, Nathan? Or are we negotiating? There was a hitch in his voice, a soft laugh mixed with breathlessness. I don't care what it is. Name it, Isabella. I'll do it. Anything. I could practically see him now, hair disheveled, suit slightly wrinkled from pacing, hands rubbing the back of his neck nervously. I murmured, savoring the power of the moment. Perhaps we should start with something small, just to test your commitment. I could feel a sly grin forming as I spoke. Maybe a small gesture first. Something amusing. Something memorable. What do you mean? He asked, hesitantly, unsure if he should trust the tone in my voice. Oh, Nathan, I said, letting out a soft laugh that carried amusement and a hint of mischief. I could make you run errands, dress up in something ridiculous, even recite a poem about your tiny little family-only wedding. But I'm not sure you're ready for that level of commitment. I paused, letting my words settle like tiny stones in a pond. Do you think you could handle that? His voice trembled slightly now. Isabella, yes, I'll do it. Anything, seriously. Just tell me. I chuckled quietly, imagining him pacing and flailing, perhaps muttering curses under his breath about how he had underestimated his older sister. Nathan, you see, it's not just about willingness, I said, letting a slow smile touch my lips. It's about creativity, flair, and proving you appreciate the effort I put into your gift. Do you have that in you? Yes, he exclaimed. Yes, of course. Anything. I swear. Just, please don't make me regret this. I allowed myself a soft laugh again, letting the warmth of triumph settle lightly in my chest. Good, I said, because I have you exactly where I want. Begging like a child, realizing that sometimes generosity comes with its own negotiations. He exhaled sharply, a mixture of relief and fear. Negotiations? Isabella, you're ruthless. I'm careful, I said, smiling behind the phone. Ruthless would mean taking it and not letting you breathe until you've done exactly as I say. Careful means we have fun with it, a little game before the gift is finally released. I could hear him groan, a soft, helpless sound that made my chest lift with amusement. What do you want me to do? He asked, a bit too quickly, too eagerly. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the kitchen counter, letting the cool wood press into my palms. Let's start with something simple, I said slowly, each word deliberate. I want to promise that you will acknowledge my effort publicly. Not just a thank you over the phone, something genuine, creative. You understand? Yes, absolutely, he said. I can do that. Then we're off to a good start, I said, letting a laugh escape softly. Remember, Nathan, the gift isn't just money. It's recognition, appreciation, a nod to the effort someone put in while you were blissfully unaware. His voice softened. I see that now. I really do. I won't forget, Isabella. I promise. I could hear him swallowing, a small tremor in his tone, and I smiled, letting the weight of the situation sink in. This wasn't just about the gift anymore. It was about the lesson, about the balance of power in playful sibling rivalry, about showing appreciation where it is due. Good, I said finally. You've learned something today. That's important. Keep that in mind when we finally talk about this gift. I let a soft chuckle escape, knowing he would be thinking about it for hours, maybe even a day or two. And that thought made me feel a quiet sense of satisfaction, a delicate triumph that wasn't loud but deeply sweet. He sighed, a soft, defeated sound that carried both humor and genuine respect. I'll make it up to you, Isabella. I swear. I know you will, I said, finishing my coffee, letting the warmth flow down my chest. Now, go ahead and plan your little gestures. I'll be waiting. And remember, Nathan, this isn't punishment. It's the education. He chuckled softly, nervous but compliant. Education? You really do have a way of making life interesting. I smiled behind the phone, a slow, triumphant smile. Yes, Nathan. I do. I could hear Nathan's cautious breathing over the phone, a mixture of apprehension and hope threading through every word. Isabella, I've done what you asked, he said, almost reverently. I posted a video acknowledging my tiny family-only wedding and your incredible generosity. I even said how much I appreciated your gift. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms, letting the silence stretch before I responded. I saw it, I said softly, letting my voice carry amusement and a gentle edge. It was well done. Entertaining, even. You have flair, Nathan. I'll give you that. A soft chuckle escaped him, though nervous, almost apologetic. So, does this mean? He trailed off, his voice tinged with hope. I tapped my fingers lightly on the counter, considering the situation, imagining the carefully wrapped box in my mind, the crisp ribbon, the neatly tucked card with my name written in flowing script. It means, I said finally, letting the words roll deliberately, that you've proven your appreciation. In a very public, very dramatic fashion. I paused, letting the weight of my approval hang in the air. So, I think it's only fair that I release your gift. A gasp came from the other end, sharp and genuine, followed by a rush of words. Really? You're actually giving it to me? Yes, I said, smiling behind the phone. But remember, Nathan, this is a rare privilege, earned through creativity and humility. Consider it a lesson in sibling dynamics and the importance of acknowledgement. He chuckled nervously, almost overwhelmed. I thank you, Isabella. I really appreciate it. I can't believe you, actually. I can, I said softly, because you listened, you respected, and you played along. That's worth far more than money, isn't it? There was a long pause, and then he laughed, a rich, relieved sound that made my chest lift with warmth. Yes, it is. I guess I've learned my lesson the fun way. I sipped my coffee again, letting the calm satisfaction settle in. Good. Now, Nathan, I said lightly, don't forget that sometimes gifts come with expectations. And sometimes those expectations are meant to teach, to remind us of effort, love, and respect in subtle ways. He chuckled again, quieter this time, thoughtful. I'll never forget, Isabella. Seriously. And I'll make sure every gesture going forward matches that thoughtfulness. I smiled, letting a quiet pride fill me. There's a delicate art in family interactions, I thought, a balance of humor, surprise, and gentle lessons that linger longer than any conversation. And today, Nathan had learned it firsthand. Remember, Nathan, I added, leaning back and letting the sunlight catch the rim of my coffee mug. Sometimes life throws little surprises, and the best way to handle them is with grace, humor, and just a touch of cunning. That's how you get through with a smile, and maybe a $50,000 gift intact. I could hear him inhale sharply, a small laugh escaping, followed by a soft, sincere, "Thank you, Isabella. Truly, you've made this memorable in every sense." I chuckled softly, finishing my sip of coffee. "That was the plan," I said. "And now, my dear brother, go enjoy your marriage. Just remember who made it even more interesting." There was a pause, and then a gentle, almost shy laugh from him. "I won't forget. Ever. You win this round, Isabella." I smiled quietly, letting the sense of playful victory settle over me like sunlight on a crisp autumn day. The gift had been delivered, the lesson learned, and the bond between us, strengthened in a way that only careful teasing, a little suspense, and sibling rivalry could achieve. Because sometimes I realized the most memorable moments are not the grand gestures themselves, but the delicate dance of expectations, surprises, and a little bit of power shared between those who love each other most. And Nathan? He would always remember this, and I knew he would tell Emily about it, laughing together about the sister who held a $50,000 gift hostage, all in the name of love, humor, and just a little bit of family cunning. As I hung up the phone and set my coffee mug on the counter, a slow smile lingered on my face. There's a peculiar joy in watching someone realize that generosity isn't just about money, but about respect, effort, and thoughtfulness. Nathan had learned that lesson the playful way, with a little panic, a little begging, and a lot of reflection. I thought about the gift itself, not the box, not the ribbons, not even the $50,000 inside, but the moments it created. The laughter, the banter, the subtle shift in our dynamic. It reminded me that family isn't always about grand gestures or formal invitations. Sometimes it's about connection, understanding, and knowing how to make someone pause and appreciate what they have. I chuckled softly to myself, imagining Nathan now, probably pacing a little less, humbled yet amused, sharing the story with Emily. Life, I realized, is full of these small, unexpected lessons if only we pay attention. And as for me, I had my smile, a story worth remembering, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing I had held my ground, taught a lesson, and strengthened a bond, all with a single phone call. Sometimes, it's not the gift you give, but the memory you leave behind that counts. And in this case, I knew I had done both.